This is so incredible. This is literally a room of some of my favorite people. I'm so honored to be here. I hand-wrote my slides for you. This is so incredible to be here. I was at the very first Plywood Presents. It was by accident. I just thought came in, I was there, and now here we are. And so many of you, I know your journeys, and you've seen. I can't even speak. It's just an honor to be here. I love that we get to start this off tonight with sharing some things that I want to share with this room specifically. Because of any room in the world, this is a room I want to be in tonight with you. Some incredible humans. Now, I have 2 children, and we've been learning about something very important, bugs. And when you learn about bugs, you learn there's really cool names for them. And so, like, this is a ladybug. You know that, right? Now, this is what I didn't know. So if there's a whole bunch of ladybugs together, you know what they call that? A loveliness. Isn't that great? A loveliness? It's so good. And a hummingbird, I learned this too. If you get one hummingbird, it's a hummingbird. But a group of hummingbirds, it's a charm or a shimmer. Isn't that good? Or a crow. So if there's one crow, you get a bunch of them together, it's called a murder. Yeah. Now, I feel like crows would kind of be like, yeah, that's our vibe. Like, we get that. That feels good. That's on brand. There's lots of collective nouns for things. I think a group of writers all together, that's called a procrastination. But this room, what do we call us? What do we call you? Bunch of weirdos. What do we call you? This chaotic good. What do we call you? This group of human beings who've come together who care about other human beings. We've given names for this, social entrepreneur, social good people thingies. But I like that we embrace this oddity with such confidence that we said, well, this is going to be Plywood people. We're going to be people that care about other people, and we're going to dedicate our lives to that. So tonight we get to be in a room not just with a certain kind of group. This is a loveliness. This is a charm. This is a murder. Okay, maybe not. This is us. Now, there's a whole bunch of people who come together, and sometimes they come together and they say things about everything that's wrong with the world, and there's plenty we could do. Like, if we wanted to do that and gather one night in Atlanta and talk about everything that's wrong with the world, there'd be a lot to talk about. But tonight, we're not with those people. We're with a bunch of gardeners. We're with people who said, yeah, I know there's a dumpster fire, but there's also a garden. And I'm tending it, and it takes time, and it's hard, and I hate it sometimes, but I'm still going to show up. You've been doing that. Some of you have been doing it for a long time, and you still keep showing up. Tonight's for you. I was at an event similar to this, and the conference began with a big question. And this big question really gave me big feelings, and I'm going to show you this question, see what it does for you. This question, it was, what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? Yeah, and then they asked that question, and people went, like that thing, that we're thinking, like, ooh, And I even felt like, ooh, yeah, what would I do? And I thought, that's a good question. But now 15 years later, I'm going, that is the dumbest question. That is so stupid. Like, of course you're going to fail. Like, who asked that question? What would you do if you couldn't fail? I would do a lot. Yeah, but I'm going to fail. And you know what? I've failed a whole lot, like so much. I've had so many ideas that I thought, this is a great idea, and it not. I've had a whole bunch of other ideas that like I thought this is maybe not so good, and then the world went, actually this helps us. And I was like, I don't know anything anymore, but I keep showing up. I've learned this is not a smart question because I've learned that failure is not something to hide from. I interviewed 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in every single state in the United States and on every continent. And I asked them, what would make me a better grown-up? And they told me. And it hurt my feelings. they said a lot about grown-ups and what they thought. And after I'd spent all this time with kids, whether it was in classrooms or virtually, wherever, and I asked them these questions about what does it look like to be a good adult, they shared that with me. And then I began to interview people over the age of 100. And as I asked them questions about what does it mean to grow old well, what does that look like? This is my friend Walker. And I asked him, and he's telling me about, oh, you have such good ideas. I can't wait to see what you dream up. And, oh, you're building good. I saw you with these kids, and you were telling this story. And he's so encouraging to me. And so I felt like I could really ask him the hard questions. And he was like, you have such a beautiful dream for children. And I said, thank you, but I'm just scared. Like, what if I fail? And his advice to me was to laugh and say, oh, boy, you will fail. You're going to fail a lot. And I said, we're no longer friends, and I stopped talking to him. That's not encouraging. But yeah, that's exactly what I need to hear, because failure is this thing that we hide from, but it's the thing we grow from. And I've had a lot of dreams that were dashed and things that I thought 15 years ago when I was at the very first Plywood attending. I had all these things in my head of what I wanted to have happen with my life, and so many of them haven't. But they've led to some other really interesting things. There's this thing that happens between here and there, this messy middle. This thing that happens when we're kind of stuck in the middle of that hairball, that tangle. It's no fun when you're waiting in line. This is a photo of me in the drive-thru. I got a text from a friend, and he said, "Good morning, sunshine." Look at that. That is, like, it looks, I'm on my way to, like, murder kittens. This is terrible, terrifying. But nobody likes to wait. I started out with a great day, but then I didn't have my coffee yet, and there I was, and then nobody starts out going, I want to be miserable. But somehow between here and there, we can get tangled up and forget why we started in the first place. Tonight, I want this to be a moment, wherever you are in the midst of your journey, where you can have a moment to zoom out for a bit and realize why you started in the first place, that you're not alone, that together we can create something beautiful. I created this party, this one-time thing called a failabration. And the idea was I really wanted to get my friends together, but I didn't want to have to plan and make it really good. So I thought I'm going to make this a terrible event. And so it's going to be similar to this, except nobody can talk about the things that went well. So it's like a TED Talk, but terrible, And so I invited these friends who had companies that they tanked. I had people that had won awards, but they couldn't talk about that. And as they did this, at the end, similar to Plywood, I learned a lesson there. Everybody got a standing ovation, and they shared these stories. And so with Failabration, we had where I shared stories. I had a television show that I hosted out of a bagel shop. While the rest of my friends went to grad school and became doctors and lawyers, I filmed a no-budget talk show that nobody saw, and we shared clips from it. Our name tags, you had your name, but you could only spell it wrong. So your name was slightly wrong. So if your name's Brian, you'd put brain. Mine said bread. My name's Brad. So you had to already kind of fail. And then I had this idea that I wanted to be really inviting and comforting. I thought this whole night's about, it's cozy, so milk and cookies. So we're going to make cookies. And I'm not really good at it, but hey, we're going to make cookies. I'll make lion cookies too, because that's about courage. So we're going to have these lion cookies. This is what they looked like. And again, on brand. So it worked out. And so we're handing out these derpy-looking cookies, and I'm feeling like, hey, I can do anything. It's so freeing when you have permission to fail, right? And so we're handing cookies to everybody, and my kids even got to be part of it. And I learned this really valuable lesson that I had picked up something for a long time, that I had decided that failures were not things that I did, that failures were somehow a thing that I was. That I had taken on this identity that I was a failed talk show host. I was a failed musician. I was a failed mathematician. I was a total failure. And as I began to look at this idea, Failibration is one of those ideas that I did not think was an idea that mattered. And yet all of a sudden, immediately the week after we did the first one, other people started throwing them. We did one with a school. There were lots of teachers who got up and shared stories with their students about things that didn't go well, about times that they failed. I started to learn that 1 in 3 young people, if you have in the United States under the age of 18, 1 in 3 of them are dealing with such heavy anxiety that they can't function. This bubble of perfection that they're wanting to attain. And I even did a guided drawing with a group of students, and I could see them getting visibly upset because they couldn't draw exactly the way it was on the board. And so I began to start scribbling and mixing it up, and it just makes them panicky. And so this idea of giving permission to fail, that it's part of this journey, that we need this, it became a story. And I created a picture book. Now, we've not shared this with anybody. You're my friends, my Plywood friends. We created a picture book, and can I reveal the cover? We made it out of trash. And it comes out this September, but it's called Failibration, and this is the cover. Ba-ba-ba! Yeah! And so it's going to be this really beautiful book made out of things that we had thrown away before, and this whole idea that letting kids know it's okay to fail. Permission to fail. We just want you to fail better. So I say to all of you, I hope you fail better together, Plywood people. You in this room, a room full of dreamers, room full of designers, builders, planners, strategists, strangers, all you people, I want you to know something. You have not only permission to fail, but tonight, may this be permission to dream again. Maybe your dreams have been dashed a bit. Maybe you've gotten blown by the wind some. Maybe you've had things fall from what you thought they would be or could be. And you don't necessarily have to have one of these, but when our dreams are dashed and we get beat down so many times, we start wondering, is it even okay to dream? Is it even okay to have an idea again? As I've been feeling that. We have this little studio in our small town. I live in West Tennessee, and one day the mailman came in and asked me, he's like, so I've been wondering, what do you guys do here? And I literally just started crying, went, I don't know. I don't know anymore. We're trying. I've tried so many things, but I don't know. So for me, I sort of need permission to do things sometimes, and so I've granted myself this, and I want to share it with you, and it's a permission slip to dream. Now, I made one for myself. I wish I had enough for everybody, but I only brought 1,000 of them. You all get one. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Here you go, front row. Pass those out. Permission to dream. It's your permission slip. Don't let it catch on fire. Here you go, middle table, take them. You guys, we need you to dream again. If you've been waiting for somebody to say it's okay, you can do this, you can have an idea, you can try a thing. This certifies that the human in possession of this very official document is allowed to speculate, imagine, aspire, or ideate wildly in the service of humanity's collective societal good. Dream again. We need you. If anybody in this world needs this permission slip, it's this room, because this world is crying out for your dreams. But it's not necessarily using those words. You know how when kids, like little babies, they need food or they need love and affection, they don't use those words. Instead, they pitch a fit or they cry. There's a lot of things I feel like the world needs, but it doesn't have the words to articulate it. And you in this room have vision and hope and possibility and ways in which you could say, I hear you. I hear the hurt. I see it. I feel it. Let's create something better, because things don't have to stay the way they are. And you have everything you need to go beyond that just saying, well, things don't have to be the way they are. What are we going to do? There's 3 things that are always available to you that I've been discovering in my journey. One is childlike wonder. You have permission to become more like a child. Not childish, because the world is plenty childish, but more childlike. Because the more time I spend with kids, like this young man here who brings his friends together to create meals for his entire community just because he saw something and said, the world doesn't have to be the way it is. What if everybody had everything they need? And so people gather because a young boy said, could we do this? This is my young friend whose grandmother ended up in an assisted living center, and one of the ways he loved to spend time with her was playing Mario Kart. And he realized that, well, they don't have a Nintendo Switch here or an Xbox. What kind of place is this? And so he started getting video games into assisted living centers and found that it's really, really helpful. This is a young girl named Emma who started Emma's Art Cart because art therapy is what helped her heal. And she wanted every kid in any hospital in any sort of pain to be able to have colors, paint, art. I live between two planets. In between my here and there's this planet that's youthful optimism where anything's possible, and grown-up cynicism of, yeah, we tried that, but it didn't work. And yet this room, you don't just orbit those planets. I believe this is a room that those two planets hold hands with childlike wonder and grown-up wisdom, and that together we can create something really beautiful. Because with your collaborative wisdom, we have in this room the collective wisdom of years of experience in so many different fields. We could literally shut the doors, lock them, and build a rocket. Like somehow, empty your pockets, everybody. Like we could do something with this kind of wisdom in this room. We could come together. This loveliness, this charm. When I started collaborating, and that's like I was panicking to just do things on my own, but when I started actually like asking my wife, who's an incredible painter and artist, and who sees my ideas and goes, yeah, that's like not the way to do it, and she helps me out. When we started actually working together, my work came alive in a new way, where everything became better. There's something beautiful that happens when people bring their collective wisdom together. When I stopped trying to just do all this work as a solopreneur, I then started just asking every person I could I collaborate? Can we team up? Can we become friends? Will you play in my sandbox? And it's led to working with brands and companies and people that I don't understand why they would want to do this, but yet we have a beautiful vision of the world, and we get to collaborate together. And you have these things available to you in this room tonight. And it leads to a compassionate wow. This thing that we all have, this desire to create a better world, this compassion. This is a photo of me being delightfully charming in front of Beyonce. She loved me. You see her face? She's like, oh, it's so we had to be, hey, he's married. Like this whole thing. She loved me. And here's this thing that happened, like right after we're filming, and she then like looks at me and went, was that okay? I could do it again. Can I see it? Let me just do it, try it again. And I was so confused because I can barely eat with a fork, and here was Beyonce, like going like, can I do? And I just went, you're Beyonce. Yes, it's fine. But this also happened in the White House. I'm in the Oval Office, and President Obama goes, oh, was that okay? I could do it again. I'm like, you're the president. My town has 2 stoplights. I don't know how this camera works. Like, you're great. And I found no matter if like people had won an award, so they had done all sorts of impressive things in the world, or you just went by one name, that they were all essentially just human beings who wanted to be loved. And in this room, there are people that I am intimidated by and your accomplishments. There's people who've done remarkable things, and we are all just human beings who want to be loved. I did an art project where I took the front page of the newspaper and found no matter who was on the cover, no matter what their background was, that they were all human beings who just wanted to be loved. And even me. And you. One of the great gifts I found in my work was I used to refer to myself as just a content creator, like I just make things for the internet. And I've realized that the best work I do happens off screen. The best work I do happens with the people I'm around. And that the thing I get to do every single day, no matter who it's with, is look at them and say, I love you. Sometimes I say it with words, sometimes with weird permission slips. But all of us, They don't necessarily ask for it. This is an incredible piece of architecture. Louis Kahn designed this building. It's another bit of work from Louis Kahn. He designed this. He could have just made a building. Nobody asked for it to be that beautiful. It could have just been functional. This was beautiful writing from him in which he said, nobody asked for this. I've had so many times where I've done things and I went, why are we doing this? Why am I stressed out about that? Nobody asked me to do this. But it needs to exist. He said this too, the creation of art is not the fulfillment of a need, but the creation of a need. The world never needed Beethoven's Fifth Symphony until he created it. Now we could not live without it. There's so much within this room that will soon be created and shared with the world, and we never knew how much we needed it. I remember I went not only to the first Plywood Presents, but I went to the Plywood Retreat. And has anybody raised your hands if you've been to a Plywood Retreat and you've experienced that? Yeah. I remember feeling so lonely, like I had so much I wanted to do in the world, and like so many problems, though, that I saw in the world. And remember this, like, sentence from Jeff, may we be known by the problems we solve. I was so overwhelmed by that idea. I started thinking about all the things we could do, like together, all the things I could do, all the things I wanted to do. And I had this conversation where I was feeling really down about things, and Jeff, ever the encourager, said, "You're one of the most creative people I know." Thanks, Jeff. We're all just waiting on you to actually do one of your ideas. I haven't talked to him in 15 years. Here we are. It hit me. There was this beautiful moment, though, this challenge of, it's beautiful to dream, but we need people who do. And he could see the beauty of the dreams, but also the vision of what could be if you actually just did them. And so I went home and said, okay, I'm going to do an idea. So every single week, I began posting a video, and it became the web series Kid President. And every single year, I've tried to create new things over and over, books, experiences, and things to dream, but to also do. And you, this room is full of dreams. It's also full of doers. Dare to dream, but please also do. For dreamers are many, but doers are few. That's what makes this room so special. And that's why we need gatherings like this to remind you, you are not alone. Plywood has not just been a thing that I went to and was encouraged by. It's been a transformative thing, a lighthouse for me. And I've mentioned it over and over repeatedly to people that, hey, you're actually not alone. There's other people who are dreaming and also doing. And they're operating from a place of deep care for the world. That's you. And that's why I remain ever a stubborn optimist. As one of my favorite writers, Wendell Berry, said, "Be joyful though you have considered all the facts." And I am, because in this room tonight, there's people asking the big question, not just what would you do if you couldn't fail. You're asking the question, what's worth failing for? What could we do? What could we create? My big question for this room is, how will you wow us? You already have, just by your presence on this planet. I cannot wait to see the many ways in which you wow us in the days and years to come. Because the best dreams inspire even more dreams. Plywood was a dream, but the big beauty of it is it inspired a whole bunch of other dreams. And tonight, it will continue doing just that. May it ever be so. Thank you. Thank you.